If you find this video helpful, show me some love.
Okay, coming up mycology here. Tonight, we'll be going over a few different things that be a couple different videos. I will break them up to keep things separate and help kind of keep attention span short and individual here. I've already prepped our area here. I've got out things I'm going to use for the work we'll be doing tonight. Everything's been sanitized, gloves on and running. And the first thing we're going to go over is one of the ways to use a spore swab. We'll be doing the grab and drag method. The place that I first learned this was from one of Ed Grant's videos. It's been very successful with it. Prior to that, I was just swabbing plates, having mixed success. And at this point, since our workspace is clean and it's ready for work, first thing we'll be doing here is put our gloves on. Everything we do in mycology has a magnitude order of sterility. Most important things that will be touching your plates, the plates themselves being as the nutritious media, so swabs, cleanse, for solutions, things of that nature. Those will be always closest to the hood, as you don't want anything passing over vegetables. Third first thing we got here is I use paper towels, but a lot of times I prefer these isopropyl alcohol wipes, as these don't disintegrate like paper towels do. Really saves you a lot in paper towels. They come pre-moistened with 70% isopropyl, but I always moisten them a little bit further. Here we have a spore swab that I took. This is obviously the top is ripped off because I've used this once already and we'll be using it again. We'll be doing the grab and drag method, as I said before. And, you know, it's incredibly simple. Anyone can do this. And this is one of the easiest ways to start with spores. Once you learn to take your own swabs, you will really start to understand how incredibly accessible mycology can be, and how much potential there is in things that you create yourself. I have a lot of stock cultures, but most generally I would throw them out, like spores on them, and then germinate them and do my own breeding projects, however simple or advanced, maybe listen to it. This year, this is just a chance for people to see and understand what I'm doing here and how easy this can be for anybody to do. Although I'm working in front of a flow hood today, this can absolutely be done inside of a still air box, or with some practice can be done in the near vicinity of a Bunsen or alcohol bill. So here we go. Let's get everything on play. Got it. I'm just like, whenever I board plates, I tend to always use some type of food coloring, or sometimes just a little bit of activated carbon. As you know, it provides a nice contrast in the background. I try to never use enough to spray antibacterial plate with it, as I would prefer to rely on the stability of my work, my technique, to produce good work rather than fresh light that anything in. So we'll wipe down our plate. We've got this wipe down already. There's two things out there. This will be pre-sterilized brush picker. I always keep a jar of isopropyl alcohol with tissue or one of my alcohol wipes at the bottom to store soap, my tools, and use. Also, I like to use this ring to help to elevate things after I sterilize them so that they're not touching anything that might can. So get this pipe down here. These before I sterilize them to sanitize them. So my isopropyl. For just a second. Here, the blank torch, gap torch, main torch. This is isopropyl alcohol for best friend, and you want to use 70% isopropyl because the 90%, although think it would do more for you in higher percentage, it actually evaporates too quickly with the percentage of alcohol. It doesn't actually do as good a job as 70%. So, probably. Yes, sir. Meantime, go ahead. When sterilize the tweezers here. And I tend to go a little ways down. Just burn off anything that's on the surface. Even though it's been wiped down with isopropyl doesn't actually sterilize anything. It only sanitizes. So after we wipe down the meat surfaces, when we touch it, we'll sterilize our tissue. Just want to get it back hot for a second. And again, away from the tips, I'm not looking to get red hot. I'm just looking to get a surface burn. And most generally, while you're working, you don't want to be talking or drinking. So as I talk, I turn my head. Normal circumstances, I would be talking about. It's cool. And there's swab on here. And again, as I said, I've already used this particular swab once. A lot of times with swabs, you can get a couple of uses out of them. They're, depending on how you use it. Sometimes, I mean, if you want, you can use the whole swab. You can do a plate or a couple plates or whatever. I'm wiping down the plastic side here. When I wipe down the back side, I never allow myself to saturate the tip of the cotton swab is, just in case something with soap or something like that. At times, sometimes the cotton buds will be very dense and very tough, and it's possible that sometimes you may bend the tips of your tweezers. If that happens, you just want to grab a sterile scalpel and kind of cut some notches in the form right away. As soon as our tweezers cool off the rest of the way here, we'll go ahead and get to it. We're still a little hot here, so I'm going to pause this for just a second and I'll be right back. Okay, now that our tree's cooled off and I've stuck the camera here, we sanitize our hands. We can't do this too much. Dry a little bit here. And I've noticed that sometimes when you use black gloves, the isopropyl, maybe the little residue on your gloves, it's sanitary. It's not going to be an issue. Used to alarm me when I would see any kind of white residue on my gloves after. I'm not sure what causes it. I don't know if it's a reaction with the plastic, the latex or what, but it does, and it's never caused me a problem yet. The idea is you don't stick it in things. Okay, so we are going to pour a swab out here. This will be the last use of the swab, so we'll go ahead and get rid of back here. I'm going to take our tweezers here and try to get to see it. And see, we've already used this once, but to get a germination and quite a few colonies, you don't really need that many spores, especially if they're fresh. They're going to germinate rather rapidly, and you'll have a lot of germinations. So with what we got here, we're going to go ahead and pull off the top here. And if we need to, we'll cut them with a scalpel, but we don't need to. We're good. Sure, that's all we need. So I always keep a little plate beside me for trash, a little disposable plate. And all we're going to do here is normally I would just lift this plate up, kind of hold it up from one side. But since the camera's got to be able to see this, I'll pull the lid off. But I'm definitely going to keep it face down so nothing could possibly land on it. And we're just going to make an S-shaped pattern here. And then we're going to drop the remainder of the cotton bud in the agar. Literally, it's just that simple. You make your S-shaped pattern, and then you will release the cotton bud. And I always try to poke it down underneath, or at least in the agar. You're going to penetrate your agar as you make your S motion or whatever kind of shape you want. By doing this, you're trapping the spores as they slowly come off that cotton bud into the agar rather than on the surface. And it creates a little bit of a trench. That way, if you do have any kind of bacteria or anything, hopefully it's going to get trapped in that trench and not be able to go out of there, and the mycelium will. So now that we've done that, we'll go ahead, grab marker, put your wipe down here, and we'll get the plate label. This would be the F3 generation of this. It was F1 from wild. I threw those spores outside, and I collected some spore prints. and that's the germination. I'm sure some of these will germinate here in just a minute. After this marker dries, I'll get this labeled wrap. I'll pull out some plates that I just done yesterday. When I attempted to make a video, and then the editing software, my phone didn't have enough space memory, so let's start over. Go ahead and get this label. That's imperative. This is a T0 plate. Got it labeled. Set that down. And I like to, when I'm working with spores and not, liquid culture on agar or subculturing or pulling things out of long-term storage. When I'm working with spores, I like to use this. This is parafilm. This is the exact same thing as you would get for $30 a roll. But this is made for nursery work. It's the exact same thing. And this is literally $7 a roll, as opposed to 30. So, you see the difference there. And when it performs the same function, there's no reason to throw the money away. So in the meantime here, we'll be using this. I'm going to wipe it down here, and then I always pull off the last wrap on it and throw it away. You never know what could have collected on it at any point. Even though you got it in a bag, it should be clean. You could never 100% achieve anything. It's better to just be safe than sorry. Again, put this on the little plate that I have down here. That's set there to dry. Here. We'll introduce any contaminants to this plate as we get wrapped here. Would hate to do all that work and then contaminate at the end. The reason that I use parafilm for local spores is because for absolutely everything else, and use a grafting tape that I'll show you here in just a minute. The grafting tape is even cheaper than this, and it doesn't eventually dry out and break like the parafilm here, which even the parafilm that costs $30 an 8 gram, it will always eventually dry out, crack, and then it's no good. Plate will thereby contaminate. But for germinating spores, it works great for use where the parafilm. So just that simple. That's the grab and drag. I learned this from Ed Grant's video. Most definitely, it far outperforms swabbing plates. So here's that. We have to set that to the side. And we'll over some stuff here. Got 2 different germination plates that I did this method on. As you can see, I'm getting quite a bit of colonies that are popping up here that are germinating. And as you see too, the plate is extremely clean. You can see that the mic is starting to spread out from the colonies very aggressively. I just done this last night, trying to prepare another video, as I was saying earlier. These spores were taken very recently. And again, I made that swab. It's very important when you make swabs to have an extremely light touch. You don't want to be gouging that swab up into the gills of the mushroom. You'll end up with a bunch of contaminants or pieces of gill tissue that will then either rot and be a contaminant, or you'll end up with a clump, and that's not at all what you want to do when you're collecting spores. Anyways, I'm in hopes of being early enough here to isolate a couple of monokaryons. So we'll subculture from this plate onto a couple other plates. And then at another time, we'll pull a couple of samples and make some squash mounts and check them under the microscope for clamps or the lack thereof. So there's this one. And then this was kind of just because I had, an extra swab. I normally use these for making spawn. I would never ever use a condiment cup for long-term storage, but these are great for making spawn because they're just the right amount of agar. And they're so much cheaper than plates. And when you're, trying to not be wasteful, you're just going to throw this away very soon after, getting it going. So why spend the money on that plate? I just noticed there is a dragonfly that has somehow made it into the room, and I'm going to have to pause this and get rid of it, as well as clean this. We'll be right back. Okay, now that I've got everything cleaned up here and we're ready to work again, change gloves. Well, re-sanitize our hands here. Then I've got a fresh scalpel blade that I'll wipe down the outside of. Pre-sterilized to I always still clean them out. There, sanitize it, sterilize it again. That's it for a second. Right here. Get it unwrapped to one thing. I always unwrap it from the flow, even though the plate's closed. I don't want to be exposing it to anything that they have to. And if we were just pheno hunting, not looking for carriers, I would just let this plate go out because it's very clean, and I would send all these spore maybe subculture the things later on after it starts to develop. But in order to grab moms, you need to catch them. So this is dry. I was kind of cleaning this a little bit, even though this is going through the pressure cooker. I wiped it down, obviously, so it's no longer sterile. It's sanitary. But you got to wipe down again anyway. I'm going to heat up all of this here, even though this part will never actually contact the plate. Something that possibly fall off of, you want to completely avoid anything like that. So just the surfaces, as I know that this just came out of the sea. It couldn't possibly be very dirty, but still not, any kind of way to mitigate any kind of issues or contamination. It's better to do that rather than try to deal with it later or end up, with a disgusting plate trying to subculture, clean it up. And these blades come sterile from the factory. It's a guaranteed sterility. Go ahead, pull it out. Set the hood. Turn it back over. Then unwrap it like down. I always keep a trash can right here beside me. Probably looks like I'm just throwing things on the floor, but that's definitely not the case. Go ahead. Let that dry out a little bit. And I'm going to pause for a second and be right back. Okay, it's been just a couple seconds here. Got the blade. Blade. Pick a couple of ponies, and I'll transfer a couple colonies to this, all of the space far enough apart that they can actually grow. It kind of saves place. And when doing this, if you're searching for carrions, you want to take the absolute smallest cell culture that you can. That way you don't risk picking up another spore that could have maybe been decided that hasn't germinated yet. Switch torches here. But this is one of the things about being prepared, always having a backup. Right. I think we're going to pull this down our eight. Want to, but you might see it. Laying here. That's it. If you notice, when I go through my subcultures, I pull from the area around the main germination where the mycelium has just started to branch out. There will always be an area around it because I do not want to grab the original germination, maybe in a spore. I want to grab from the absolute outside of the colony, the newest, freshest growth. And it's kind of hard to see in here, but where these have germinated here, there's always like a little halo around the outside. And that's what I tend to try to grab from. Just because, like I said, I don't want a chance of grabbing another spore that hasn't germinated yet beside it. Anyways, there we are. Go ahead, get our plate label. But we'll get wrapped up. When I label this one, I will put question mark. That way I know to check this at a later time. This is good. Generation 3. 6.2. This is a putative monocrayon. Not a confirmed, putative. Anyways, I'll get these wrapped up and call this the end of this video. Thank you for joining me at Primitive Mycology. There'll be lots more videos to come.